Hello there, my name is Victor Ogunyika, and you're welcome to the midweek edition of Today in the News, and of course all of those newspapers across the Federation, and looking at the major headlines everywhere.
Over 1,000 people are benefiting from free medical services provided by the FCT chapter.
Some of the Arsenal fans will be very interested in this news. Arsenal Spurs Club transfer record signed Pep.
The timeline is not being adhered to. That is one of the problems. Those 21 should have been totally cleaned up by now. Unfortunately, today, not one is completely cleaned up and handed back to us. This is what made me to review the whole Ogoni cleanup project, and we found that it's not going the way it should. The timelines are not being met. We don't think the required competence was there. So we wrote a memo to Mr. President, which he graciously approved that the Ogoni cleanup project be reintegrated, restructured, re-energized, and have it work properly so that the timeline will be met. Right now, we cannot even make the first arrangement of 5 years. We have lost a year and perhaps a half or something. So we are now engaging some additional expert. Specifically, I can tell you, UNEP is the agency that assessed and designed and recommend the method of cleaning up of Ogoni. That's United Nations Environment Program. So we are now engaging them in some technical capacity building so that the project will now go faster, more professionally, and at the same time also charge them with technical support and capacity building to the Nigerians that are working on the project. So 21 side plus 36. The 21 are nearly completion, a lot of them. But the 36 are just starting because they are just handed over in the last I don't know, 2-3 months. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome to Vanguard Live, and of course this is Today in the News. Here we read and give in-depth analysis on some of the stories making waves across Nigeria. I'm Damilola Ogunshaki and I'm with my co-host
Precious Chukwudi.
Precious, good morning.
Good morning, Dami.
Yeah. Yesterday, how was it for you? Forgetting the transport or just your day?
Like, it's a function of so many things. Like, traffic is still at its worst. And then, but we're just living through and getting by it, as Nigerians that we are. So
today I'm excited, a little bit excited. Today I just know that after the service today, I think I'm going home to jolly with my family, as today is my dad's birthday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to him.
Yes.
Many more years.
Oh, yeah. Okay, without wasting much time, let's start to the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. And the story on the front page, we have a steer clear of Edo Primary. Obaseki tells Oshomole, adds, I served him 8 years for free. He betrayed our cause. Denies obtaining PDP nomination forms. Explains visit to Tinubu. He can't stop Oshomole from primary. This is coming from Osage. Is seeking attention. This is coming from Oshomole. You can see more of this on page 5. And on page 6, we have another student, 18 raped to death in Ibadan. On page 7, we have a judge orders accused soldiers produced in court on June 8th. Alright, on page 26, we have a Clark writes Lawan. Baja requests probe into NDDC allegations against NAS members. And on the front page of Vanguard, we have a photo story of Orji Kalu's arrival from prison, and the rider below says former governor of Abia State, Senator Orji Uzor Kalu, arrives home from Kuje prison in Abuja yesterday. And on the story above the nameplate, we have federal government refunds 148 billion naira, bars state from further repairs of federal roads. And those are the stories we have on the front page of Vanguard newspaper. And from there, we'll go straight to the Guardian.
And on the Guardian newspaper, we have bandits intensify strikes as security chiefs brief Buhari. The riders, we have fresh attacks kills 9 in Kaduna community. Police needs reform, restructuring, not reorganization. Troop hits top Boko Haram militants and 72 others. On the story beneath, we have Orji Kalu released from prison. And on page 4 of the Guardian, we have why Nigeria may record more coronavirus cases by NCDC others. And also on page 4 still, we have INEC forecloses electronic transmission of Edo Unduguba polls result. And on the stories above, we have outrage over cuts in health education budget, and PDP others oppose 27 billion naira for National Assembly complex renovation. And that's all we have on the Guardian. We'll move straight to the Punch newspaper.
And on the front page of the Punch, we have another student raped, killed in Oyo, Ekiti Oka defiled. Amnesty asks President to declare rape national emergency. Aisha Buhari seeks speedy action on cases, Atiku reacts. Kogi Commissioner under investigation for assault, rape, says the police. And you can see more of that on pages 4 and 5. Now on the stories below, we have Oshiomhole should not be involved in Edo governorship primary. This is coming from Obaseki. And you can see more of these on page 17. And on pages 4 and 5, we have family demands justice over radio presenter's death in church during childbirth. Akpabio inserted 500 million naira projects in NDDC 2017 budget, and this is coming from the Senate panel, and you can see it on page 14. On page 9, we have Army arrests 24 bandits in Ondo Forest. 2 health workers among 5 Ekiti COVID-19 cases. You can see more of that on page 11. And on the stories above, on page 2, we have worship centers. JNI says PTF guidelines difficult. Catholic faults continued closure. On pages 7 and 9, we have a suspected herdsman killed 22 in Benue. Kaduna attacks. Yeah, and lastly, on the front page of the Punch, we have oil field bid round. Federal government may generate 3.17 billion naira from fees. And that is all on the front page of the Punch. From there, we'll move straight to the Nation.
And on the Nation newspaper, we have a major headline: churches, mosque open in Kwara, Osun, Kano, Benue. The riders, we have Islamic Council urges caution as can fault advisory to 55 years old and above to avoid worship centers. And some of the conditions are 1 hour church services, 20-minute Islamic sermon or prayers, attendance to be 1/3 center capacity, 55 years and above to worship at home, social distancing must be observed, wearing of face mask compulsory, Muslims to perform ablution at home. And stories beneath, we have Orji Kalu back home, student killed after rape in Ibadan. And mom seek arrest of mastermind, agency boss seeks castration of rapists. That story can be found on page 4. And also to the COVID-19 update, we have 11,166 cases in Nigeria with a death over 315 and recovered cases 3,329. So that's what we have on the COVID-19 update, and that's also what we have on the Nation newspaper.
And that is all we have on the front pages of the papers this morning. But when we come back from the break, we'll be going more into the analysis segment. So don't go anywhere. You can always create a watch party with your friends to watch the videos, and also to watch most of the things that we're doing on this program. And also don't forget to always like and follow us on our social media platforms that are showing on your screen, or visit our website www.vanguardnigeria.com to get more of our top stories. Stay with us. We'll be back after the break.
Hello there, my name is Victor Obinka, and you're welcome to the midweek edition of Today in the News, and of course all of those newspapers across the Federation, and looking at the major headlines everywhere.
Over 1,000 people are benefiting from free medical services provided by the FCT chapter.
Some of the Arsenal fans will be very, interested in this news. Arsenal's first club transfer record signed Pep.
Alright, welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Today in the News, and we've reviewed some of the stories on the front pages of the newspapers, and now we'll be going to the analysis segment. And here we'll be starting with the front page of Vanguard newspaper, and on that story we have the story of Edo State. I know we've been talking about this story for some time, about this election that is coming up in Edo State. Now, the Edo State Governor, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, has asked the national chairman of his ruling APC, that's Comrade Adam Oshomole, to steer clear of all the processes leading up to the June 22nd governorship primary election of the state, and because he is an interested party and he cannot sit in judgment over his own case. That was what he said. And Obaseki also spoke on why he is desirous of ruling the state for a second term, saying 4 years is not enough. That 8 years is what he will use. That is what it will be enough for him to crystallize his reforms. On the mode of the primary, the governor also said he would pick the party's ticket respective of the method adopted in selecting its candidates, whether it's direct or indirect primary that is consulted. And he said he described some of the things going on as absurd, like the speculations that he might have obtained the nomination and expression of interest form of the PDP as an alternative. He said that he can't actually get this ticket. That's something that he has been working for. He has been working for APC for a long time. So this speculation is actually absurd. The governor also explained how he sacrificed 8 years of his life serving the administration of Comrade Oshomole when he was the governor of the state. He also faulted Oshomole camp that he betrayed them, saying that the party's national betrayed some of the cause that he instituted. He also went on to say that the reason why he visited Tinubu Bola Ahmed is because Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, because he is a man of peace, and he does not want the party to be torn apart, because they really worked hard to bring this party together. So he does not want it to be torn apart, and also he's a man of peace, and that is what I have on that story. Precious, do you have any other story to tell?
Yes, so federal government has refunded 148 billion naira and has barred states from further repairs of federal roads. And the Federal Executive Councilors, FEC, banned states from repairing federal roads in Nigeria in their domain. It also approved the sum of 148 billion naira to be refunded to 5 state governments, being money expended on repairs of federal roads, and which they spent to repair federal roads. The states includes Cross River, Ondo, Osun, Bayelsa, and Rivers. So federal government is refunding them. I think it's a very good one too, so they can equally use the money to do other things that they need to do in their states.
Okay, so that's what you have on that story.
Yes.
Okay, on the other story, we have Senator Orji Uzor Kalu on Wednesday night returned home from the custody. The Senate Chief Whip was freed from Kuje Correctional Center at about 7:30 p.m. His release was ordered on Tuesday by Justice Mohammed Lisman of the Federal High Court sitting in Lagos. This same judge also set aside the fraud trial and the 12-year conviction of the former Abia State governor. He was the governor between 1999 to 2007. So that's all I have on that story.
Alright, so the worship centers, that's JNI, says that PTF's guideline might be difficult for worship centers if they are actually to reopen, and the Catholic has faulted the continued closure of churches and all of that. So the JNI Secretary General, that's Dr. Khalid Abubakar Aliyu, has urged Nigerians to support efforts of the federal government to fight the pandemic. He also expressed his concern about the abilities of worshippers in churches and mosques to abide by PTF guidelines, and some of those guidelines are expected to provide, that's the churches and mosques are expected to provide running water, soap and sanitizers at their entry and exit point, and also compulsory use of face masks. And also I think I saw somewhere in papers where they said that families are supposed to sit in the same line, so not to allow other people come, even though they are still going to maintain some level of social distancing. And also the Catholic Archbishop of Lagos has also called the Lagos State government to ease the restriction on religious gatherings, and in the state he wondered why it was concluded that the virus could spread at places of worship when people gathered in markets, motor parks and banks. So the Archbishop is saying that people go to markets, people go to bank, we're not worried about people contracting the virus.
Have you been to the market of recent?
And but you were worried about people contracting the virus. In the church, he actually has a point too, because
no, have you been to the market of recent?
No, I haven't.
I went there. People were not putting on their face masks. There was nothing like social distancing. It's like that place is a different world on its own. COVID-19 does not exist there. People are not thinking about it when it comes to the market. So I think that's what the Archbishop is also trying to point out.
Yes, because the bank is also in place, but I think the banks have also been trying their best, way to ensure that they don't attend to too many people. For example, some banks have like canopies outside where there is like at least some level of social distancing between chairs for people who have 1 or 2 transactions to do in the bank, and also not a lot of people are allowed into the bank. So I'm sure that maybe there's a certain number of persons that can go into the bank, maybe like close to 10 or maybe less than 10, just to ensure that the bank is not clogged with people and all of that. So I think it's a good one. But the thing with the church is, considering the fact that Lagos is an epic center, I don't know how it can be managed with the church or with the mosque, because people, if people are allowed to go to church, for example, how are they going to rotate, or how are they going to make something?
I read it somewhere that when you're also in church, I think the state also opened the church, the religious center, said you have to use a face mask while you're in church.
Yes, of course.
This
is my own point now. For example, if a normal church that would have like 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Now, how do you relegate them not to be too much? Because now
No,
I'm
not
going
to be more than the 20.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
20
How do you relegate them not to be too much? Because now, if I'm going to go to church and in my house we are like 10 of us have come to church, then your family 10, you know, then another person's family, like it's a lot of people. So that's the reason why I think they are looking at it from that angle and saying that okay, there's no need for us to open the church. Even the mosques too. If we're going to go to the mosques, I and my family, and we're all going to go to the mosques. You can imagine what it is like. We're all going to go together. We can't even, you know, avoid that social distancing because different people will be coming from different places and all of them want to go to the same place of worship. So I think that that's the reason why they are checkmating all of these things, ensuring that yes,
all these things go to place. Also, you know, coming less than 7 days after the death of Vera Omozoa Waila, who was raped while reading inside the parish of the Redeemed Christian Church of God in Benin. Another death has also occurred, that's Barakat, who was also raped and murdered in her own house. Precious, what do you think about this increase of rape and murder? Because it's really getting out of that. I don't think this is what we're supposed to be listening to, thinking about in this 21st century. We have other things to do.
The thing is that this thing has always been here. Like the rape thing has been going on for a long time. But then, you know, Uwalia's case sort of brought it out more. And now we're now seeing something that
is it like it's encouraging people to do more?
No, the thing is that until we get stiffer punishments for rapists, this might just become an order of the day because we need them to be checked. I mean, we need people to know that you can't do things like this and go scot-free.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that girl. What was she wearing? You know, people are going to say, oh, don't dress in a way that will be too appealing.
She was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
You know, she was in her house too. You know, she was in her house and then she was also fully clothed.
Yeah.
You know, she was wearing her hijab, wearing her gown. Like, she wasn't wearing anything that would have been, you know, like, really, you know, sexually provocating, that anybody that would see her and say, okay, I want to sleep with this person or I want to rape this person. You know, she wasn't dressed up in that manner, but yet they still had their way. So it's a function of the mind. It's a function of how some persons have decided that this is what they want to do. We've seen people bring out posts on social media saying, I saw one post the other day of a guy saying, I used to rape before but I've stopped. It just shows that, you know, he's proud of what he does. We've seen, you know.
Okay, I think that was the one you said. I was showing I was in this morning or yesterday where someone wrote on Facebook and like, hey, it's good. Let's rape them even when they won't agree for us to sleep with them. Please, is that something that's supposed to be coming out from a responsible man's mouth?
There's a lot of moral decadence in the homes, in even in a person. Like, people are not even, for example, I was back home yesterday and someone was basically telling me that there was a girl on the street that was wearing like bomb shorts. She was going to buy something like from all those, you know, Malam and all of that, and then she heard some guy say, look at what she wear now, if I catch him I go rape him. I'm like, how do you, like, I'm like, no, that person that said that thing needs to be arrested
because definitely the person
yes, this is how it comes into the mind of people. Like, how do you see people and then just want to inflict pain on them, want to inflict, you know, trauma? Why? Like, I don't get it.
And this trauma, let's not forget that this trauma actually lives with the victim for a long time.
For a very long time.
And you see some people.
Do you know that for some people who were raped before, until the incident that happened with Walia, some of them started to recount what happened to them, like, because it's a function of the mind. Like, if that kind of thing has happened to you before and then you now hear somebody has been raped, it's like it comes again, it reminds you of what happened to you. So some of them have been breaking down on social media, crying, making videos and saying that, you know, they didn't want to remember this incident, but this thing happening to Barakat and also Walia has also, you know, yes, I reignited, you know, the pain that they've been feeling for a long time coming. So it's very sad.
I think someone was telling me a story, and I think it was a story of herself, and she said that she was raped when she was young in her own, she went to visit a guy, and just for them to have dinner together to dine, and that was why she went there, and the guy raped her. So up till date now, if she has a boyfriend, or now she's married, she can't sleep in the same room with her husband without the door being open because she's not secure. Because she feels if something happens, she needs to be able to escape because she always has that thing. She always has that thing in her mind that something bad is definitely going to happen.
It's a very,
So
very
this
sad
thing lives
one.
with them for a long time.
Yes.
You
And
just
even
need to
causes
look at
PTSD,
it. You cut a lot of people's dreams, aspiration, and just because you want to satisfy that sexual urge. I don't know whether I should call it sexual urge or what. I don't know. It's really, really devilish.
Let's take some people's comments on the page, and this is from Chinemiriam Emeka. He says this is serious, so God help us. This is from Peter Ugo. He says, what a wicked word. And this is from Austin Nzube Chuku. He says, so sad, our students are no longer safe even in lockdown. And this is from Ale Biosu David. He says, this is serious, so. And this is from Vivian Azutalam. She says, why is all this happening? And this is from Lillian Agada. She says, now so it start. If we don't fight this in all sincerity, it may escalate like other crimes. She has a very big point. If we don't put in stiffer punishment, it will become the order of the day.
Do you know, someone was saying it yesterday that the culture, that it's because of the way ladies dress, so we're trying to, relate people's dress. It's a borrowed culture, borrowed way of dressing. Okay, if you say we borrowed these things, you hear less of these cases outside where we actually borrowed this type from. That's what you're insinuating. Look at a 2-year-old child that I read, that the man who accused her, raped her to death, was finally sentenced to death. What was that girl wearing? Is it a Pampers that attracted you?
That's just.
Or just
I saw a video yesterday of a 4-year-old too that was being raped in school. Like, you need to see that video. That video is so heartbreaking, like very, very heartbreaking. It's a very disgusting video. And the girl was so outspoken and was saying exactly what happened to her. And the mother couldn't even help it. She was just crying. Because, like when you bring a child into this world, you as a parent, there's this level of how you want to try to protect your child from falling into the evils of this world. But how much can you really protect them when you're trying to protect them and somebody is out there waiting and looking for the time when they are free to inflict pain on them? Let's take this one from Hussein Muhammad. He says that this rape is getting out of control and serious action is, if not taken, if 3 or 4 people are sentenced to death by hanging, they will realize the pain they feel. Please, serious action to be taken. Please, nobody is safe again. Nobody is safe again. It's painful.
This thing is still going back to the laws of rape.
So this one is from this is from Augustine Ahmad. He says, what is happening in Nigeria today are signs of frustration from people who expected development and growth from leaders who are only interested in their families and loved ones from it. I don't think that should not be an excuse for someone to rape someone. I'm not responsible.
No, there's
for
no
your
excuse. There's no
Nobody's
excuse.
responsible for your
No,
problem.
there's nothing.
I mean, we're in this
Nothing.
country. We're trying. Everybody's trying their best to ensure that they do what they can do by themselves. Even the government too. There's little or more the government can do, but you can help. Okay, the fact that the government isn't doing enough, or you feel like the government is not doing enough, does not mean that you should put your next door neighbor in problem. Yeah. We keep preaching love. If you love your neighbor, you will not want to, hurt your neighbor. You want to inflict, because imagine that whatever happens to that person is what's happening to you. It's a function of we don't have love in the system.
Put yourself in the person's shoes.
So it's a function of we don't have love in the system, and that's the reason why a lot of bad things are happening. Because if you love your neighbor, you won't kill. If you love your neighbor, you will not want to rape. If you love your neighbor, you will not do anything that would hurt them. That's what it is. It's in the function of the fact that we don't have love in us.
Love, and also the boys, they should focus on the boys, focus on the male child, not just the female child. We've been saying this for a long time. I think it's really time that people really need to look at it and also learn. Don't just keep saying that stop rape, and you don't actually take actions when it comes to this. Schools will be resuming, so I think this is the perfect time for NGOs, to visit the schools and tell them and educate the male children. Also, teachers, you are there, educate them, teach them the morals, teach them different things, teach them how to respect women. That is the only way, and that is part of the way, and that's one of the ways that we can stop this and we can put an end to these acts of inflicting pains on also your your neighbors.
Okay, so let's take this one from Ahmed Olaleko. He says, you guys should know one thing, that rape can only stop if ladies stop dressing naked, true to God. And after this, if any man that rape, please kindly kill him. It's a complete.
Oh my
Did
God.
you,
Oh
Mr.
my God.
Ahmed, you need to listen to what we just spoke about.
No,
Barakat
no.
was a fully clothed lady. She was in her house, she had her hijab on and everything, but she was raped.
What
She
of
was
the
raped.
children
It
that
is
are
not-
being raped?
It is
That
not a
is
function
it.
of dressing.
No, not at all.
It is not a function of clothes. It's a
No.
function of the mind. It's a function of people who want to perpetrate evil on other people. So it's not a function of rape. We have
It's because when you have negative
Yes.
thoughts in your heart, of course you want to bring it out. That is what is happening. So it's a function
yes,
of the mind.
because we
not
have
because
we
of
have
what you
kids
see.
that are 1 month old and they are raped. We have children that look at. I just spoke of a child who was 4 years old. What is a 4-year-old child going to wear that would attract a rapist?
Please,
What is a child
to-
who doesn't know anything going to wear that will attract a rapist? No. It's a function of the mind. It's because these people have decided to turn to barbarians.
Look at the story
and-
that you talked about now. That the guy was like, "I will rape you." She's wearing a clothes. Admire her. If you know you can admire her, you can criticize
There's
her
not
in your
even
mind.
There's no need for
But
you to
whatever
even
you
look at
want
her.
to do, you shouldn't say that you want to rape her. Can you imagine? How can you be thinking of that in your heart when there are other things that you should be thinking about? How to improve your life, how to improve the life of others. All you're thinking about is how to rape someone, inflict pain on another person. That
It's
shouldn't
a very
be heard of.
sad one.
Just because of what you are dressing.
Yes.
If I want to wear
You can't
something,
say-
it's my choice. It's not your choice.
I was telling somebody the other day and saying we have mad people on the road and they are most times almost not. They are almost most times like
I
really
saw one
naked.
this morning.
Do
I
people
think so.
go to them and just rape them?
I don't know.
I know.
No, there's actually some people who rape
Yes,
them.
I know we've had cases, but those cases are not as much as like a sane man now would see a mad person and say because she's naked, let me just go and rape her. It's not something that just happens on the ordinary like that. So these are things that we need to talk about because you don't just wake up in the morning and just say okay because somebody is probably half naked or is not fully clothed according to you. You want to now take carnal knowledge of the person. It is not allowed. It is unacceptable, and stiffer punishment must be given to these people who perpetrate this act.
Really should. Let's just continue on that story of Barakat. The father of the deceased Kasimu actually told the reporters that he was not at home when the incident happened, and so was also the late victim's sister, that she was also outside before when the tragic incident occurred. And the deceased was actually a member of the Muslim Students Society of Nigeria, and she was buried on Tuesday according to Islamic rites. It was her sister who found her in the pool of her own blood in their house. And meanwhile, also in Ekiti, there was also an incident of rape where the victim was actually hawking sachet water when the men who were said to have actually raped her I think they took her to a corner of the market and to add a kind of knowledge of her, and that was around 7 p.m. and luckily there were some people who saw her and took her to the hospital, for her to be treated, and 2 suspects have actually been arrested, and they're also looking for the 3rd suspect. Meanwhile, the Global Human Rights Organization, that's Amnesty International, called the president to declare rape a national crisis in the country. What do you say about this, Precious?
Yes, I think we've gotten to that point where we have to start talking about it. It has to turn to, it's a matter of urgency. It's a matter that has to be treated like very immediate. It's a matter that cannot be allowed to just be, swept under the carpet. It's a matter that needs to be addressed. So these are the things. It's a good one that we're seeing that people are talking every day on Twitter. There are people who talk about experiences of rape.
I think we're talking about the case of Yangi.
Yes.
Yangi.
24 women cannot have the same. They can't be in a group where they want to
There's
spoil
actually
someone's
evidence. You
career.
can see charts.
And the stories are almost alike.
Yeah.
Like he invites them over, takes carnal knowledge of them, rapes them. Some of them he beats them and kicks them out of his house.
And
So
actually takes their nude pictures.
yes, and even
threatens
threatens them with their nude pictures. There are voice notes of that he released and say you can't do anything and all of that. This is not things to be taken lightly. This is things that when it happens, we need to nip it in the bud.
Yes.
We need to deal with it as it comes.
And also, the Amnesty International actually, in a series of tweets, noted that a toxic culture encourages men to see women as passive sex objects, and it must be discouraged. Actually, these are in for this. Talking about this, I don't know. I know that there's actually no excuse for rape and different things, but we also need to look at the things around us. Like we said, we should train children, train them on what they see. I think I was telling you of what I see sometimes on TV, that it's not just what happens around you that actually puts this negative thoughts in your mind. Sometimes you watch TV and you see women being portrayed as sex objects. Exactly. So we need to explain to the boys that no, what they are portraying them as, it's not what they are. You need to respect women. That is all it boils down to. And we're running out of time. Let me just conclude it. The former Vice President Atiku Abubakar described rape as a pandemic on his verified Twitter account. He called for the review of the laws of rape and urged the police to ensure speedy justice for Waila, Barakat, and other rape victims. And that is all we have on today's review and paper analysis. And we'll be ending it with Mr. and Mrs. And the first person speaking today is Mrs. And she said, dear, why are you holding me like this in public? People will frown at our behavior in this era of social distancing. And Mr. replied, this is what we do at home. Why pretend in public?
Exactly. There are people who do not like PDAs. They don't like public display of affection. But then, it's just what it is. So, some people like it, some people don't like it. But I think that if you're married, it's fine, to hold your partner and you guys will just stroll and stuff like that. But there's some persons that would rather, not be involved in things like that.
So that is all we have. Okay, and that is all we have on the paper review analysis for this morning. Don't forget that you can always like and follow us on our social media platforms that are showing on your screen, and you can visit our website www.vanguardngr.com to get more of our stories that we're reporting on this show. And don't forget to always subscribe to our YouTube channels and also share our video. It's bye from me, Damlola Ogunshaki, and also from Precious Chibudi.
Hello there, my name is Victor Oguinka, and you're welcome to the midweek edition of Today in the News, and of course all of those newspapers across the Federation, and looking at the major headlines everywhere.